social inclusion, and economic empowerment. We count on NAWOJ to use its platform to inform, educate, and galvanize public support for these priorities. I therefore urge you to reposition yourselves as intentional agents of change. Go beyond headlines, build narratives that uplift, use your reach to challenge systemic injustice, amplify the voices of the marginalized, and promote national unity. Let your journalism reflect courage, integrity, and vision. At the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, we are committed to strengthening families, empowering women, and protecting vulnerable groups. In alignment with the renewed hope agenda, we are advancing policy reforms to restore dignity in caregiving, programs that nurture child development and family cohesion, expanded access to economic opportunities through initiatives like the Nigeria for Women program, targeting 4.5 million beneficiaries, a special constitutional amendment bill for women's inclusion, proposing 182 reserved legislative seats for women at national and subnational levels, national guidelines on alternative care for children, ensuring every child grows in dignity and protection. We are also championing the National Family Strengthening and Development Program, a flagship initiative of Mr. President, designed to reach over 5 million Nigerians with solutions anchored in community support, culture, and resilience. This includes the inauguration of the National Framework for Family Cohesion, developed in partnership with traditional rulers, civil society, and the media stakeholders like NAWOJ. Yet, these efforts cannot succeed in isolation. We call on all stakeholders, civil society, traditional institutions, development partners, and the media to collaborate. By working together, we can bridge gaps, eliminate silos, and build a more inclusive and secure Nigeria. NAWOJ, your mission is clear. In a time of national need, your pen must be bold, your voice unwavering, and your purpose grounded in service. The future of our country rests not only in policies, but in the power of the narratives we choose to tell. Congratulations on this significant milestone. I look forward to the outcomes of your deliberations and the continued impact of your work. Nigerian women, blow your trumpet. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause for the Honorable Minister of Women and Care, the woman that has made us proud. Nigerian women, blow your trumpets. Blow your trumpets. Greatest NAWOJ. Greatest of the greatest of the greatest of the greatest NAWOJ. Let's go. Thank you very much. On this note, we want to recognize some important personality as the time grows. We'll be recognizing them. In our midst, we have Mama Press. She has been a wonderful woman, supportive of all what we do. She's none other than Dr. Chumwe, and what the blessing of she's one of us, she's our friend, she's our sister, mother-in-law, and everything to us. I call her family. And also, a very gender-friendly personality in our midst, the former chairman of FCT, in person, Mr. Emmanuel Obeche, now the SO. She's the governor of Cross River State. Let's appreciate him. I don't want this applause for my chairman. Thank you very much. On this note, I want to call in my constituency the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, ably represented by Mrs. Shade Fatoki, for his goodwill message. That is my own ministry. Thank you very much. Good morning. Very good. Good morning, representatives of all ministers and distinguished gentlemen. This is a speech by the Honorable Minister of Information and National Organization, Idris Fellow in Nigeria, and the Conference of the Life of Nigerian Women Journalists NAWOJ the theme the role of women journalists in national security. I read, it is both a privilege and a profound responsibility to stand before you today as chair of this timely and important conference organized by the Nigerian Union of Women Journalists. I thank you sincerely for this honor and for the invitation to fostering national dialogue. Your chosen theme, the role of women journalists in national security, is not only relevant but also urgent to give dynamic social and political landscape. Journalism at its core is far more than a reporting of events. It is a powerful force that shapes public discourse, nurtures civic understanding, and holds with powerful accountability. As the fourth president, the media plays a vital role in sustaining our democracy and safeguarding our national values. In this arena, women journalists bring unique attributes, empathy, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to truth. These are not just professional qualities, they are nation-building tools. Your voices provide perspectives that are often underrepresented. Yet, crucial for peace building, reconciliation, and social cohesion. Let us be clear. Women are not passive observers in times of crisis. They are often the first responders, the caregivers, the advocates, and yes, the storytellers. Women journalists have a rare and powerful access to untold stories from the grassroots. Stories of endurance, stories of resistance, of hope. These stories are critical to understanding the truth impact of insecurity and to crafting solutions that are inclusive and sustainable. In an age where misinformation, hate speech, and fake news proliferate across platforms, the need for courageous, ethical, and professional journalism has never been more critical. And this is where you, our women journalists, must continue to do. National security must not be seen as the exclusive concern of our armed forces or security agencies. It is a shared responsibility, and information is at the heart of it. As the ministry's charged with shaping a national orientation, we rely on the media to drive narratives that foster unity, encourage civil responsibility, and promote peace. We urge you to see your work not merely as a cottage, but as nation building. Every headline, every broadcast, every feature has the power to either unite or divide, to calm or to inflame. Let me assure you that the federal government is fully committed to the safety, welfare, and professional development of journalists. We are spreading policies that protect the press freedom while promoting responsible journalism. Through interagency collaboration, we are stepping up efforts in public enlightenment and media literacy to counter disinformation and promote a more informed citizenry. Our aim is to create an enabling environment where journalists, especially women, can thrive without fear or hindrance. To all the women journalists gathered here today, your work matters, your voices are powerful, your platforms are essential. Use them to promote truth, to challenge injustice, and to amplify the stories that inspire hope and unity. Partner with us in defining the national narrative, one that affirms security, inclusiveness, patriotism, and progress. In closing, let me once again commend NAWOJ to the team for this noble and forward-looking initiative. Let this conference be more than an event. Let it be the spark of a sustained movement, one that positions women journalists at the forefront of our collective pursuit of peace and national development. Together, let us ensure that the media serve as a bridge, not a barrier, as a builder, not a destroyer. Thank you. God bless you all, and may God bless the Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Can we please give her another round of applause? She said very fluent, it's about women, and I want to welcome everything she said is true.
Nigerian men, they are resilient, they are powerful, they have all it takes to ensure that this insecurity stops. We speak with one voice and do the right things. Permit me at this juncture to recognize and at least the representative of our guest speaker for today. We have Mr. Simon Lewis. Please give him a round of applause. You are welcome, sir. And at this point, because of several national assignments that the Mother of the Day, our Honorable Minister of State, will have to attend to, will now be fast forwarding as it were the event to ensure that we can know and be our national duty. Sorry, ma, for keeping you so far. It is my singular privilege to be welcoming today a former commissioner for higher education. She is a consultant, she is a family physician, she is a mother on all fronts. She has been a pillar of support to the minister of the FCT. She is part of the transformation we see going on. I'm talking about all the persons and the mother of the day, our very own and excellency, Dr. Maria Mahmood. Can I get a better round of applause, please? Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing all your programs to come up on this day.
Thank you very much, Masters of Ceremony. I can see that you are too much. You have really shown us that today is really so celebrate you and the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, ably represented by Mrs. Jumai, the Honorable Minister of Information and National Communication, also represented by Mrs. Jumai, the Director of Reports Coordination, Dr. Jumai Amodu, the Chief of Naval Staff, represented by Navy Captain Motishola Stephen, the first Public Relations Officer, ably represented by Superintendent of Police Online, the Vice President Zodi of the Nigerian Association of Women Journalists, Comrade Mrs. Tuba Obechi, the state persons and secretaries of this association that I represent, the he for she, we appreciate him that they are all here with us. All the distinguished guests that are here, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I say good morning to you all. First, permit me to warmly welcome esteemed ladies to our beautiful capital city of Abuja at this historic inaugural zonal conference of the National Association of the Women Journalists, that is on the North Central. This gathering marks a significant milestone, not just in the front of female journalists, no, but in the broader movement of inclusive, ethical, and impactful journalism in our nation. I commend the theme of today's conference, that is public insecurity, the role of female journalists in national security. The theme is really apt and timely as we meet today in Abuja at a moment when our country continues to face complex security challenges ranging from terrorism and banditry to cyber threats and misinformation. It is within this context that the role of female journalists become not only relevant but very, very critical. As women, also professionals, the storytellers, female journalists hold a unique position in shaping narratives, exposing injustice, amplifying the voices of the vulnerable, and also promoting peace and dialogue. Your work goes beyond reporting news, it is about rebuilding trust, fostering national unity, and holding institutions accountable. In many cases, you are the voice for the voiceless and also a beacon of hope in communities affected by violence, as has been mentioned earlier. We must also recognize the challenges you face: safety risks, gender-based harassment, and underrepresentation in key media and security conversations. So let this conference be a rallying call to address those challenges through what? Policy, advocacy, training, and also solidarity. part, Federal Capital Territory Administration, under the leadership of His Excellency by Yeltsin, we have taken several strategies initiatives to complete security within Abuja and the surroundings. One of the major approaches is the strengthening collaboration between security agencies, including the police, military and paramilitary forces. The FCT administration has increased funding for surveillance technologies, enhanced intelligence sharing, and supported joint task force operations to ensure a rapid response to threats. Another key effort involves investment in street lighting, road improvement, and urban renewal projects to discourage criminals' hideouts and improve accessibility for security patrol, among other security measures. I commend the leadership of the Nigerian Association of Women Journalists, led by Hajiya Aisha Ibrahim, and also our vice president, for convening this important dialogue for a proactive step to position female journalists at the forefront of national security discourse. I urge you all to live here today with a renewed commitment, strategic partnership, and bold ideas that will strengthen not only your profession but our nation. It's also my hope that we can shape a more secure, informed, and inclusive Nigeria. I thank you all for coming, and I pray this conference will be a family session. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister Mark, with your kind permission, can you remain standing? While people on this side of the table to join her for the investiture, the Zonal Secretary, Mrs. Juliana, will come over to this side. The investiture. When women are in leadership, they are transformational. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As already announced, part of our program today is investiture of the Minister of State as our zonal metro. This is the appreciation of our support in our work and other women organizations. So all of us here are witnesses that we have a big mother here, somebody who can rely on, somebody who has been for and continue to be with us. So it's my singular privilege to do this investiture with the support of other women here. Thank you very much. The Minister of Women Affairs will also support while we do this.
You are home to GTV Africa, live from Abuja. The women journalists are doing what they know best to do by decorating the Minister of State for FCT as a matron to the women journalists in Abuja and in Nigeria nationally, or they're from this zone. The women, the minister has been selected and be taken as matron for the zone and being assisted by every other person on the podium together to decorate the minister as a matron. Right in the house there, we have everyone on the podium joining her. The Minister of Representative of Minister of Women Affairs is also joining to decorate her and
We have Federal Capital Territory Administration and all of I really want to show my appreciation and also tell you that as we say to be the matron of this great association and promise you all that is possible for us for the world to fly higher, higher, and higher. Thank you very much.
Great NAWOJ! This is our life and honorable Minister of State has presented because of her activities she will be giving the government of now. So let's have the first stanza of the national anthem before she takes her leave. I will continue with our good message.
to GTV Africa. As events unfold, we continue to show things as things. Good message will continue while the event continues.
And we remain seated while our guests are being seen out. As soon as we have our members of the high table back here, we are going to continue with our good message. DJ, give us.
Because I'll just walk through the
Okay, let me go there.
Hello.
Please don't forget the event is not over. We have more to take our positions to continue this event. For those of us outside, there will be time for the photo op.
See where you come on to your presentation. Right. The FCT are the Minister of Women. Oh, yeah, no. Okay. Now that your wire. Ma, congratulations for having a successful conference. What is the meaning? What will be the meaning of this conference to female journalists in the country?
Okay, like the team actually captures is about our role in national security. And it's no secret that in the country, most parts of
No
it
problem.
is going through a lot of challenges. It's been on for a while, and everybody is seeking solution to it. And for us, what we are trying to do is to establish what we can contribute our quota. What can we do to ensure that we have national security? What is expected of us? We know what is expected of us, but we're now speaking with the security agencies, the military, to let us know where do we really come in, what can we do to make a difference, not just as journalists, but also as mothers, because we are women, and most times, you know, when there is crisis, women feel the pang the most. When talk about vulnerable people, they count the women and the children, and that is exactly the situation we find ourselves in. So for this conference is for us to establish what our roles are so that we can discharge them effectively. That's the essence of having this. And we hope that at the end of the day, we'll come with a communique that states clearly what we intend to do, how we need to go about it and implement the decisions taken here and the solutions provided.
So, if you are to advise young females that are coming up, those that are coming from school, they have intention of becoming journalists, what advice will you be giving them?
It's a very noble profession. This is the only profession that is named in the constitution, the first estate of the realm. There's no other profession. It also goes to show the responsibility that is on us, the responsibility we need to fulfill by holding government accountable, being the vanguard of the people to government, people who are in government and positions of authority. So it's a journalism is the only profession that comes with that constitutional responsibility. So anybody that wants to join is welcome, and together we can make it get better. Thank you.
Yeah, speak. Now speak.
Where's Deborah?
Done.
forward together.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate you for appreciating us. Can we please give her another round of applause? So on this note, we'll be calling for his moving message, our celebrant of the day, the person from whom we give our birthday cake today. I'm talking about the spokesperson of the EFCC, Mr. David Oyewale. If you clap better, you get a clap for
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our very indefatigable image journalists, gentlemen of the press, and all other protocols duly observed. I regret to run from the executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Ola. He has asked me to felicitate with you and to also register his deep respect for our female colleagues because I'm still journalists, and to say that the issue of national security is an all-embracing, all-encompassing issue, and that corruption remains the deadliest threat to national security. And that for us, as media practitioners, it is important for us to continually project the need for public ownership of the fight against corruption, that every Nigerian is a stakeholder, and that all of us together, standing shoulder to shoulder, we must be ready to confront the monster of corruption. If you look at the trajectory, if you look at what is happening across the country, you will agree with me that everything that we are suffering as a nation, we are suffering because of corruption. And if we want to put an end to it, we must join hands together as stakeholders, as people that are determined, that are passionate, that are challenged by the realities of ground to confront the issue of corruption. So the role of female journalists, national security, the role is all too evident. Everything that we see all around us that is at variance with what we desire is a threat, and we must all confront it together so that Nigeria can get to the place that we desire it to be. So on this note, I want to congratulate all every female journalists, and I want to salute your enterprise, your resourcefulness, your resilience, your staying power, and every single thing that you are putting in the profession. As a journalist, I know what it takes for a woman to play the role of a journalist. And I sincerely appreciate the doggedness and everything that you are putting into the profession. So on this note together, I believe that we will all, when we listen to all the papers and presentations that will be made, we will leave this meeting more determined, more resolute, and even more desperate to confront the issue of corruption, which is the single most deadly, most important threat to our national security. Thank you, and I wish you very wonderful and glorious conference.
Thank you, and thank you very much, Ogandele, the birthday, and many will say the birthday boy. Let's appreciate him so much. One of the things we are discussing today, we said, journalists, especially the women journalists, we hold people in office accountable. And we have heard from the EFCC man concerning corruption and all that. And as we go further, we hear from the Nigerian Police Force on what she brings us their good message today. Dr. SP.
Distinguished guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you warm greetings from the Inspector General Police, IGP Olukayode PhD, and the entire Nigerian Police Force. I must say, when I walked into this morning, I was happy, not just because I'm a police officer, but because I'm a woman. And I particularly know that I was sent here to represent the force because I'm a woman. And I must say that my expectations were not cut off, because indeed, Nigerian women have proved themselves again. I particularly want to say that your voices as journalists is very important. We all know that media is taking shape. We're having a shift in the media where we have the new media. I always tell people that if you go through the streets, unlike our days when we have to wait for 4 o'clock news, to listen to news that comes from network stations. Now everybody is an unsolicited journalist because they have phones in their hands. I just want to say that as storytellers, as investigators, and as public educators, female journalists carry a powerful voice that reaches deep into our homes and our communities. Stories that would normally not be heard, but the female journalists give room for such stories to be heard. I just want to commend you. I want to recognize you. I want to also recognize your resilience. Because as a woman who is in a male-dominated area, I understand what it feels like to be a woman and being a journalist. So I commend you today. I admire your strength. We see you. The entire Nigerian Police Force are always here to work hand in hand with you to ensure we have a safer society. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We see you, we admire you. In fact, when I do, I want to do like you. Very smart and agile. If not for this flat tummy, I don't know. It is well with my soul.
We are making progress. We will now be going into that part of the program where we listen and introspect deeply on how we can move our security as a nation further and how we as women can contribute to this. I'm going to be reading the profile of our guest speaker for today. We have somebody who is a journalist whose years of experience span for over 2 decades. He worked for 7 years as a sole senior court judicial reporter in the nation's capital for the Guardian. He was born Emmanuel Santa Cruz Olumiko in Kakancha, Kaduna. He's a human rights activist, a social media expert, he is a writer. He's maintained a consistent following rights watch and leadership and national newspaper based in Abuja. He is a philosopher by professional training and a Nigerian human rights activist, blogger, and writer. He was a former federal commissioner of Nigeria's National Human Rights Commission, an appointment made by the then President Olusegun Obasanjo, and presently he heads the Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, Uriwa. Who is a publisher, he is an editor-in-chief of Icon of Human Rights newspaper. He is the executive director of Paradise Fund Media Company Limited. He is the chairman of the Empire Communications Limited, board of trustees, member of the US-funded NGO called National Alliance Nigeria, and board of trustees, member of Association of African Writers and Women and People's Rights. He is also a member of the national think tank, the Nigerian Cabinet Secretariat in Abuja. He is known for undeniable advocacy, for which reason he was appointed by the President of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, as a member of the Presidential Committee on Dialogue and Peace in Northern Nigeria. Please make welcome his representative in our midst, Mr. Speaker. Okay, I am reliably informed that it's here. You're welcome, sir. I have been spanning the hall when I read his profile. In fact, I was overwhelmed and I really didn't see you sitting right there. You're welcome, sir. We are privileged to have you. Can we please give him a better round of applause? This profile is intimidating, sir.
I greet you all, the powerful women journalists. I'm also part of the family. I'm a journalist also. I greet our friend from the EFC. I greet all other guests. I was conscripted only 2 days ago by the leader in the zone, NAWOJ, to do a talk on the role of women in national security. I've been able to draft something down. I want to say first and foremost that this security, when we came here, when we started, the DJ was playing a lot of music, and one of the songs said, that they were taking the person to where we don't know. Security is actually taking Nigeria to where we don't know. There was a time I told my son is just 10 years because we didn't start early. We're busy chasing money at journalism, so we didn't start early. So my 10-year-old son, I told him, let me apologize as your father to you that you are growing up in a country that I, as a person, can barely recognize due to insecurity. When we were growing up in Kamanchan, some of us would drive from Kamanchan to Maiduguri. Those who are hustle for money. From Kamanchan to Maiduguri, you cannot see any threat, not like threats of any insecurity or not like Boko the small crimes that were happening in those days in the 80s. I'm not so much a good man like that, I'm just 50. In the 80s, the insecurity that faced Nigeria then wasn't much worse than just kidnapping, maybe just kidnap children for ritual animals, or housebreaking and the rest of them. But now we are faced with monumental challenges of insecurity, and the man from the EFCC has actually not the roots of insecurity in Nigeria because corruption is the reason why insecurity has lasted this long. Particularly the war on terror. The corruption that made the biggest army in Africa incapacitated to defeat the ragtag people around this war and all kinds of armed military actors. Those in the army, those in the defense, who are in charge of the procurement of weapons, they are schooling so much. Everybody, we are all here. We are who incidentally retired as a military to expose a lot of corruption in the defense sector. We have one person, chief of defense staff, was able to amass a lot of wealth. Chief of army staff, chief of that. Money is budgeted for weapons to be used to fight you will put it in your pockets and you send your children to the US, send them to me. Only commoners like us, we don't have any other place to go to. So corruption, I agree with what that gentleman said, but let me read something I wrote down. Insecurity in Nigeria has evolved into a heavy monster. Terrorism, insurgency, banditry, herdsmen, violence. I don't subscribe to the propaganda that there is a war between farmers and headers. Farmers and headers, like farmers and headers conflict. It's a lie on the piece of hell. what we have is leaders when they are trying from attacking farmers to take over their lands, take over their communities. In Plateau State, in Southern Carolina, in Benue State, we saw this thing happening, and somebody from somewhere will say, leaders, farmers, conflict. There's nothing like that. So, armed robbery, secessionism is another cause of insecurity. Because we have some guys who are suffering from heart drugs. The southeast region of Nigeria, I was from the north. My passport, yes, I'm a child, as a place of birth. But I'm from Imo State. You go back there, you have a bunch of boys who are in drugs. They don't know why they are actually violent there. They're talking about having to separate from Nigeria. When did we have that discussion to separate from Nigeria? And if we're separating from Nigeria, is that a way to separate from Nigeria? You want to fight for independence? You now amass their weapons and you're killing your own people. You want to fight for independence, don't know where to go and fight for independence. Your father's house, they're going to be bombing. Let me leave that. And intercriminal clashes continue to stretch the limits of our security forces and national cohesion. These multidimensional threats are dominated by economic desperation and institutional decay have created one of the most volatile security environments in Sub-Saharan Africa. While the Nigerian state continues to invest heavily, as they claim, which most of us don't believe they are investing anything substantial, they are looting the resources, giving them to their families, because if they are actually investing heavily, if they are investing heavily to buy weapons, they would have been able to defeat Boko Haram by now. And now you have somebody in fact, when I talk about Nigeria, recently I went to medical testing and I was told I have because of Nigeria, crisis. A spokesman of the army, when they say Boko Haram has acquired drone technology, kind of president that. You are telling us that Boko Haram has acquired a drone. What have you acquired to give them? Is that not the reason why you are in the army? Why are you telling us a story about Boko Haram acquiring drones? While the Nigerian state continues to invest heavily in kinetic approaches, military operations, intelligence, fireworks, hardware acquisitions, and equally potent habits, underutilized force exists in the realm of media and where will that come to the women journalism. Let's controversial aspect. More specifically, within the often overlooked substructure of that of why the unique and transformative potential of women journalists. These women that I'm looking at, armed not with rifles, but with recorders, pens, cameras, and unrelenting commitment to truth, are gradually redefining what it means to safeguard the nation. I want to tell us that the police, the man representing the police, who said everybody is a journalist, it's not true. I don't have much experience to attend the everybody is a journalist. Those ones who call journalists who have cameras, who write different kind of rumors, like you see on Facebook. I'm not going to they are bloggers. You can call them bloggers, not journalists, please. Let's respect your role in national security, though subtle and likely unheralded, is vital to any honest conversation about public security in Nigeria. Too often, national security discourse omits media actors, except when discussing sensationalism and misinformation. Yet, credible journalism is a stabilizing element. It educates the public, provides early warning signs, holds government accountable, and amplifies the voices of communities on the front line of battle. In this domain, women journalists possess critical, distinctive tools, assets, empathy, contextual insight, and resilience that allow them to play an indispensable role in the architecture of peace building and national security. They are not merely reporters. Which journalists are not merely reporters? They are field-based analysts. truth bearers and community pages whose work often goes unacknowledged by the state, the media industry, and the public at large. From the creeks of the Niger Delta to the forests of Zamfara, from the ethnic camps in Maiduguri to the barricaded towns in the southeast, women journalists have defied systemic and physical obstacles to tell stories that matter. In many rural or patriarchal communities, especially during crisis, women survivors are more willing to speak with female reporters, leading to deeply insightful and humane narratives that would otherwise be inaccessible. These narratives are not just emotional appeals, they form the evidence base for humanitarian responses, psychosocial interventions, and policy research. Take, for instance, the aftermath of the 2014 abduction of over 270 school girls in Chibok, Borno State, by Boko Haram. While male journalists provided the initial news flash and political commentary, it was female correspondents, often freelancers, or community-based radio journalists who sustained attention on the issue through interviews with mothers, school teachers, clergy, and the traumatized returnees. Their reportage humanized a tragedy that might have been buried in the next cycle of breaking news. It also sparked international outrage and diplomatic interventions. It is difficult to overstate the long-term impact of this form of journalism on both policy response and national awareness. Let me put it in practical terms. Concerning this book, chief of school girl, there's a particular journalist of BBC, one lady that is considered one of these in West Africa. She has done so much to tell the world how those little school girls were taken off from their schools and the government has been able to rescue all of them. Moreover, women journalists have made significant strides in investigative reporting and other crucial components of national security, corruption within security agencies, sexual abuse in IDP camps, the attraction of humanitarian aid, and human trafficking under the guise of interstate migration have all been exposed in reports led or co-authored by women. These revelations do more than make headlines. They prompt legislative oversight, civil society organizations, and occasionally criminal persecution without these interventions. Impunity will flourish and insecurity. Globally, research has demonstrated that women bring a different lens to conflict reporting and security analysis. A UNESCO study titled Gender Sensitive Indicators affirms that the inclusion of women in editorial and field operations leads to more balanced, inclusive, and socially responsive reporting. Conflicts affect women and children disproportionately. Yet narratives around national security are still overwhelmingly militarized and male-centered. Women journalists reach this gap, reporting from IDP camps, displacement zones, hospitals, and community dialogue spaces often being less worried by traditional editorial structures, but vital for understanding the full spectrum of security challenges. In the Northeast, for instance, radio journalists, in the Northeast, for instance, radio journalism remains one of the most influential forms of media engagement, particularly among rural populations. Female journalists anchoring community peace programs in Hausa and Kanuri have been at the forefront of countering extremist narratives. Their programs promote tolerance, inter-ethnic dialogue, health education, and the integration of ex-combatants. No, I not agree with this integration. Anybody who has killed should be sent to jail. These are not soft topics. They are fundamental to what we call the radicalization and the stabilization of post-conflict communities. Yet, these efforts often operate with minimum institutional support for community coverage. Unfortunately, the professional environment for women journalists in Nigeria is still riddled with challenges. A 2020 study by the International Federation of Women Journalists revealed that over 65% of female journalists in Nigeria have experienced some form of harassment, physical, verbal, or sexual during their careers. This accepting high-risk assignments from pursuing investigative journalism is a great related field. Others face cultural and institutional biases that limit their career advancement, reduce their visibility, and undermine their credibility. This security affects everyone, but women journalists navigate it with the additional burden of gender threats. One cannot overemphasize the urgency of reform. Media organizations must adopt gender-responsive safety protocols, offer targeted security training, and ensure equitable assignment of investigative roles. Government stakeholders, including the Ministry of Information and the security agencies, must treat women journalists not as peripheral observers, but as critical stakeholders in information dissemination and drug dealing. At a time when fake news, the other one they call AI. At the time when fake news, propaganda, and online radicalization voices are escalating, very often voices in journalism can serve as powerful counterweight to divisive narratives. The Nigerian Association of Women Journalists NAWOJ has continued to advocate for the empowerment and protection of its members, with initiatives focused on capacity building, mentorship, and policy engagement. NAWOJ has emerged as a frontline defender of media professionalism and gender equity. Its zonal conference that we're in now, Team Community Security, the role of women journalists in national security, is a testament to the growing recognition of women journalists as integral to the national security discourse. But seminars and communiques are not enough. What is needed now is structural commitment by newsrooms, by regulatory bodies, and by the Nigerian state to back policy action. This commitment must also include access. Too often, security briefings are exclusively heavily skewed towards media and web correspondents. Female journalists, especially those from community media or regional outlets, are denied information access, travel passes, or even physical security support. When women are at the table, the questions change, the focus expands, and the solutions diversify. Equally important is the need to integrate women journalists into national security planning, not merely as mouthpieces, but as active participants. Their field knowledge, community linkages, and communication skills make them valuable assets for early warning systems, peace education, and crisis response. In countries like Kenya and Colombia, women journalists have been formally engaged in community policing and conciliation frameworks with positive results. Nigeria was learned from these examples and will utilize them for its peculiar challenges. Additionally, donor agencies, NGOs, and multilateral institutions working on governance and peace building must earmark specific grants and fellowships for women journalists and security journalism. The current funding landscape is heavily skewed toward men-dominated outlets and international correspondents. By supporting female reporters, particularly in undeserved regions, these institutions can help democratize information access and strengthen the feedback loop between citizens and the state. Ultimately, it must be acknowledged that journalism is not merely a profession in Nigeria, it is a profession of public service, often carried out as great personal risk. For women journalists, this risk is compounded by entrenched patriarchy, workplace discrimination, and societal stigma. And today I have your anthem where you say women should be free. Men are free. My daughter is free. My daughter is free. My wife is free. My wife is free. And yet they continue to show us what right, speak, and movement. They deserve not only our gratitude, but our protection, our investment, and our reputation as defenders of truth and peace. I have just to, finish. If Nigeria is to win the war against insecurity, it must stop viewing security as the exclusive domain of men in uniform and begin to adopt a whole of society approach. In this paradigm, women journalists are not on the periphery, they are at the heart of the solution by ensuring that their voices are heard, their rights are protected, and their contributions are institutionalized. Nigeria can take a significant step toward building more informed, inclusive, and secure nation. As insecurity continues to cast its long shadow over the country, the question is not whether women journalists have enrolled in national security. They do. The question is whether Nigeria is ready to institutionalize and support that role in meaningful, sustainable ways. If the answer is yes, then we must act with urgency and intentionality. The future of our security may depend on it. And I want to finish by saying, media houses, you are not doing enough. I mean, you must also introduce live security policies for their journalists. BBC, when BBC sends their reporters to Borno State, they give them a flight, complete flight. That's what they call channel flight. Of course, they have life insurance benefits. Many of the female journalists is killed. Her family will never back forever. In Nigeria, Nigerians that cover conflict areas, even the security agents are even responsible for killing them. A journalist was killed in Abuja by the police. What happened to that family of that journalist that was killed, that was covering the protest by this guy, this Islamist from Zaria? The journalist was killed. The journalist was killed in Kano. The journalist was killed. Every journalist have died in Nigeria. But nothing happens to them. The media houses do not do anything. Nothing comes out of it. Let's get serious. NUJ, get on papers. What is your role? If you don't work to ensure that journalists, whether female or male, enjoy insurance cover. A journalist that goes to war zone to report and is killed, I abandon the family. I don't think God will forgive that media role. I want to thank the audience for inviting me to have this big dialogue. I want to convey a message to the EFCC. EFC, it is true you said corruption is the greatest threat to the cause of insecurity. Yes, corruption and abuse of hard drugs. These two facts. But EFC, you have a very serious role to play in prosecuting these generals that are diverting money that are made for weapons. EFC has done quite a lot, but maybe they are institutionally encumbered by politicians. You find the chief of naval staff, the chief of army staff, almost looting the entire money for the budget, and the person is still working free. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, our guest speaker. On this note, I'm sure a lot of us have listened keenly. It is time for questions. If you have questions, observation, or whatever, he's here to do justice to that. We're going to take about 3 questions for anyone who is going to contribute. Questions. Let's see your hands up. All right, 1. Let's have the second person. 1, over there. The second person. The second person. All right, 2. And the third. Let other questions not give birth to other questions. Distinguished colleagues, we know we do that alone. Let's have the third person. Thank you very much. Number 1.
Good morning. My name is NAWOJ and I report from Group Peace Newspapers. And I want to thank you, sir, for a well detailed presentation. Now, my question is that because this event is about women journalists, how do women journalists get to overcome the stereotype that media houses place on its female journalists when it comes to reporting security issues? I was reporting security issues before, but no matter what you do, it doesn't seem like a woman should be on this bit because it's a bit that is dominated by men. Is reporting security issues a male issue? How can women overcome this and now become, a name to reckon with when it comes to security issues in Nigeria? Thank you.
Number two. Number two, let me see your hand up. All right. Okay.
Thank you very much. I came when you were almost halfway through your presentation, but I think I aligned with quite a number of the things you said. However, okay, my name is Hussein. I am a NAWOJ, a very senior reporter. Now, my challenge is one, and I think in the course of researching for this paper, you should have touched on an area that has been of a kind of challenge to we that are practicing. Now, Christiana Amanpour covered the war, we all know. We saw how she covered Operation Desert Storm. Quite a number of the female journalists in Nigeria, I remember, as of that time, were inspired by people like her. But back home here, we don't have any form of insurance. And I know people like Amanpour, maybe somebody will tell me I shouldn't compare us to people like Amanpour. But when are we going to start? We don't have any form of insurance. Both private media and government media, we don't have any form of insurance. The National Secretariat of NAWOJ have tried to institute insurance where you contribute and when something happens, you get some amount of money. But even that one, I don't know what happened to it. Now, as a colleague and maybe a senior colleague that knows so much, what are we going to do? Where are we going to start? Even we, as practitioners, we're not talking about it. I've not had any bill or any kind of advocacy in that direction. It looks like we have given up, but we need insurance. Muslima Shalebo covered, she's been going to the Boko Haram areas with, quite a number of girls. There's one lady in AI2, she's been covering Boko Haram and all that. I don't know if she's still on the beat. But my worry is the issue of insurance by the media agencies. When are we going to talk about it? When are we going to even attempt to have it? When are we going to have even a bill that will look at that? Thank you.
Number three, go ahead. Thank you very much. The guest speaker will respond to those two questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those questions you've asked. I think the first question was asked, President, the correspondent with the blueprint, was almost answered by the person who asked the second one. Because she, just get a name, I was thinking about them, and there's this reporter in NTA reporter that covered ECOMOG. Is that the information? And there are a lot of female journalists that have done excel so well in covering security issues. I think there shouldn't be any kind of discrimination. The media house should not discriminate even male and female journalists who should cover security issues. If any media house discriminates on the basis of gender, then it's a violation of institutional provision in section 42(1). You cannot discriminate against the workforce based on gender. You know, if that is happening in the media house, then I think we have to really discuss it. The officials have to really do something about it. Because journalists are basically trained to report stories actually objectively, have a balanced kind of report the truth, you know. So I think I don't support any form of barrier, not allowing females to cover security issues. And I think I want to commend the Nigerian Army. Nigerian Army recently appointed a lady, a young girl, as their spokesperson. If Nigerian Army can appoint a lady as their spokesperson, that should be their house. Stop ladies from wondering security matters. It doesn't make sense. Then the second one about insurance, I spoke about it. I said it is a duty of media houses when you engage reporters, particularly those reporters you want to send to conflict zones, and you don't have any provision for them in terms of life insurance policies. It is a crime against humanity. It is something that the politicians have to discuss. Politicians as a body of newspaper owners of Nigeria. They need to discuss that. The problem we have is a very serious problem. I'm talking about journalistic practice in Nigeria. Yeah, even from officials cannot even pay the small salary they give to personally. There's no personally, and nobody goes to accountable. And yet, we are the eyes and the vanguard and the conscience of the nation. And you employ young people, graduates who are very well trained. You didn't train them. It's not like before, when you have 3 times or guidance, recruiting people who just left secondary school. They send them to Times Journalism Institute, send them to Nigerian Institute of Journalism. Some of us practice journalism, spend our money to train ourselves in NIJ. You understand? So somebody, after spending a lot of money to train as a journalist, you employ the person, and you're supposed to pay the person 100,000 naira per month. And you don't pay that person. It's a crime against humanity. And it's something that the NUJ is really do something about. It's a shame that NUJ has been unable to concretely institutionalize life policy. NUJ, I think they are more concerned about, I don't know what they're concerned about. I happen to be when I was together, I was member of NUJ. You know, of course, if you're practicing the NUJ, it's a must. Whether you like it or not, they will take direct deduction from your salary and pay to NUJ. And NUJ has been able to sponsor a bill in the National Assembly to compel media owners to establish insurance policies. We have a president of NUJ that was the senator. Smart. He was in the Senate. He didn't write any bill that is media friendly. So I think it's an issue that we all have to come together and think about. Now, you have NUJ, you have Nigerian Guild of Editors, you have Commission, Newspaper Owners Association, you have Broadcasting Federation of Nigeria, you have a lot of groups that should cover the interests of journalists. And you're going to send somebody to Chibok. If you are the owner of any of the newspaper, I don't want to mention any newspaper, you want to send somebody's son or somebody's daughter to Chibok. Why not send your own daughter to go and cover the story? That's my opinion. And I think we need to really talk about professionalizing the profession of journalism in Nigeria. I said the reporter from BBC, when they want to cover conflict stories, when they say them to cover conflict stories, conflict areas like Niger Delta, Borno State, you know, their television houses hire jets, private jets, that will take them to the place and fly them back to Abuja and back to wherever they're coming from. And then you send the journalists to come over. I get these patches of some journalists that like the one I did covering the protest by the share. You know, a lot of journalists have been killed. Some were killed in Kano, you know, and we don't have insurance policy. Something that I want to urge NAWOJ. I want to urge NUJ. I want to urge Nigerian editors, the politicians, who are the greatest criminals. The politicians are criminals. Don't pay the salaries. The politicians don't pay salaries. You're a criminal. You get a lot of money to advance, and you don't pay salaries. And you want me to be on. That's why I told myself, look, I don't teach journalists in Nigeria because they're not going to pay you well, even though journalists in Nigeria will give you visibility. Some of us use the platform of journalism to get to where we are today. Journalism in Nigeria is still very good because it gives you visibility. But it is your right. You are entitled to life insurance policies from your provisions, from the owner of those media houses, and yet you don't get something. It's unfortunate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's put our hands together. And in the course of our discussion, when the guest speaker was delivering his paper, we have people here. We have Dr. Uche Ugo. He came in. You are welcome, sir. Then we have the representative of Senator Ireti Igibe, in person of Dr. Messi Kunde. And then our auntie, our big sister, the first female director, Neil Evans, said she came in also, she been asked questions in person of Comrade, Auntie, Big Mommy, Husseina Akila. Let's appreciate those people. On this note, inviting to the microphone the representative of Senator Ireti Igibe to come and give us her good message. Dr. Messi.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tutu. Okay, good morning. My name is Dr. Messi Pabe. I am the representative of our distinguished senator of the FCT, Senator Ireti Igibe. She has asked me to come here today to basically give a good news message and to also explain her absence. So prior to ECOWAS engagement, she's unavailable to attend today's event, and I will go on to read her speech. Distinguished members of the Nigerian Association of Women Journalists, respected colleagues, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with deep honor and profound sense of duty that I extend my goodwill to the leadership and members of the Nigeria Association of Women Journalists, Zone D, on the occasion of your inaugural zonal conference. I commend your initiative in organizing this timely and significant gathering with the theme Coming Security, the role of female journalists in national security. The theme speaks directly to one of my most pressing challenges facing our nation today. Insecurity is widespread, even in the FCT. Every day we hear so many disturbing stories, and as a senator who represents this district, this is obviously an issue that I take to heart. And critically, if you see the rampantness of insecurity, you will notice that many of them go unrecognized. It's only the very few that we hear about on the news. The role that female journalists play in shaping this public discourse, exposing threats, promoting peace, and strengthening national resilience. According to our research, the media remains one of the most influential institutions in shaping perceptions and influencing policy. Women journalists bring this unique lens into showcasing these problems that are now becoming societal responsibility. From reporting on community-level conflict to amplifying the voices of marginalized, your stories have power to inform, not just to inform, but to also heal, unite, and catalyze action. As a female legislator and a passionate advocate for women empowerment, I recognize the daily courage it takes for women journalists to navigate a hostile environment, the challenges of misinformation, your health, your safety, and also reporting from the front line, while juggling personal and professional expectations. Indeed, your role in society cannot be overstated. Your role is not only noble, but it is indispensable. Women journalists are uniquely positioned to highlight the gender dimensions of insecurity. But insecurity has so many dimensions. So why must women only promote, or why must women only report on crimes that have to do with women? Women can report on black crimes as long as the security is guaranteed. When we female journalists reaffirm my commitment to supporting women in journalism, in leadership, and in every sector where their contributions uplift our society. I encourage you to continue your work with boldness, integrity, and unwavering sense of purpose. As you exchange ideas during this conference, I urge you to forge stronger networks, advocate for safer working conditions, and continue holding the torch of truth and justice high. You are not alone. We stand with you shoulder to shoulder as you shape narratives that inspire a safe and more united Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate her some more. Grandpa. Grandpa. Thank you very much, distinguished participant. Greatest NAWOJ! Greatest NAWOJ! Greatest of the greatest of the greatest of the greatest NAWOJs! Our former leaders here, thank you for being here with us. Our chairpersons and secretary, thank you once again. The ministry is still moving.
Thank you very much. Please can we clap for ourselves for our patience? We've been seated since morning through speeches, through different activities. We are still looking bright and radiant. Whoever did our makeup did a good job. We are all radiating. In fact, let you go from add something for the rest. At this point, we are going to be going to the panel discussions. I will be taking us through the profiles of some of the members of the panel. We'll be starting with the moderator of this panel. We have with us Mrs. Ada Bison-Omoye. She is a dedicated reporter with a passion for community journalism and a reputation for integrity and ethics. She has more than 10 years for documented performance as a staff reporter, presenter, and producer of news and current affairs for local and international audience. A compelling storyteller whose news, features, and other events with equal passion and within the deadline. Intensive 24/7 newsroom environment. She has contributed more than 20 investigative crime and ethical development stories for the Nigeria security community. She has covered a range of areas like security, education, politics, and healthcare as a full-time general assignment reporter for African Independent Television, AIT. She was consistently singled out and commended as a productive investigative reporter and story contributor among the reporting staff. She has also earned repeated commendations for excellence in writing, reporting, and infographics. She has covered activities of Boko Haram in Kano from January 2012 to February 2017. That is to say, she is a survivor. She was the only journalist at the Kano Emirates Palace Mosque a few minutes after the multiple bomb explosion. She also covered when the security joint party was began to force their way into the north area to assess the level of damage and casualties, but it's in the area in I don't need to be any further. You already know that she is a seasoned journalist. Please put your hands together as we welcome the moderator for today's discussion. I'm talking about Ada. She's not going to be doing this discussion alone. We have a panelist of no mean repute, a gender advocate, and Amazon Adora Onyejiri Sydney journalist, multi-talented, she's an international broadcast journalist. She has a renowned voice for inclusive governance, and she is a public policy expert. She's the executive director of the Gender Strategy Advancement International. She is a UN Peace Ambassador. She's been recognized among the 100 most influential African women by WAPA, a US Women in Congress initiative on emerging women voices. She also headed the Women and Gender Cluster Committee of the African Union Economic and Cultural Council Nigeria between 2020 and 2022. She authored a best-selling book called Politics, Ethics, and Power, defined by Amazon as a powerful political platform. Aldora signature writes a column for women of the world on this Nigeria and daybreak newspapers. She is the technical advisor
put your hands together. The plenty of work and love for our very own Gloria.
Thank you for joining us on this panel. We also have on this panel, I'm sorry I don't have some of the profiles ready here, but of course you will know that nobody on this panel is an ordinary personality. They all have very compelling voices and are going to make this discussion very long. We have on the panel Leo Mukhtar, who is a research fellow with the Center for Crisis Communication. Can we welcome him with a warm round of applause? Thank you. On the panel also, we have Simon Rikusa, who is a columnist with the Leadership newspaper. Can we please put our hands together for him as he moves forward? And then we also have checking us, someone who has he just wants me to introduce him as a journalist. He loves the pen. He's married to his profession. I'm talking about Senator Iri. Please welcome him to the panel. With one round of applause. At this point, I will be handing over the microphone to the moderator and the panelists to do justice to our topic for today.
All right, good morning, NAWOJ and distinguished ladies and gentlemen in this hall. My role here, as you have heard, is to moderate this panel, and I do not intend to take your time. Dear panelists, please start by introducing yourself so that I will know who to ask what.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. NAWOJ. I'm a practice journalist and outside gender advocate and public policy expert.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Senator Iri, a journalist, security analyst, and geopolitics enthusiast. Thank you.
My name is Sean Mukhtar. I'm a research fellow Center for Crisis Communication. I'm also a journalist and also a defense and security analyst.
Thank you very much. My name is Simon Musa. I've been in the media. I'm a columnist with Leadership newspaper. Thank you very much.
All right. I'd like to start by asking Adora. The topic for today is boldly written, as we can see there, curbing insecurity, the role of female journalists in national security. Adora Olejo Signature, we all know you as a gender advocate. At this point, we would like to start by hearing from you. Tell us what specific contributions do female journalists bring on national security reportorial that makes them stand out from their male counterparts?
All right. First of all, I'll start by saying it's about collaboration, not competition, especially when you're talking national security. And it's important to get that context because we're not looking at male or female, because everybody is a citizen of Nigeria and their life counts. I'll give you a background. The 14 years ago war of Liberia that happened took a different dimension when women in the communities and women in Liberia said to themselves, it is no longer just about guns and intelligence. It's about the people, it's about the women, it's about conviction. And understanding that, and he also said, the only way we can collaborate efforts and voices is by taking the pen to win the soul of the nation. And so you had market women, you had women, female soldiers, you had journalists, and female journalists, who were, most of them freelancers for the sake of fear for their lives, create a conurbation and a community around women who were willing to be a voice. And in doing that, stories were domesticated from community to community, amplified by ordinary women, shared with women in a network. And I think in doing that, what now was very resounding was there was a face to who the body bearers were, women and children. It showed that when women report stories, they go down to the issues at the core. They are not looking at the issue of ethnicity, they're not looking at the issue of politics, they're not looking at the issue of power. They're looking at the issue of participation and nationhood. And that was what defined the 14-year civil war in Liberia. Now bringing it back to Nigeria, I often say that the voice of female journalists, women journalists, young and alive, are often underused, underrated, and under-amplified. Why do I say that? First of all, you have a parliament that has only about 3% or 4% women in parliament. A country like Rwanda that has over 60% has the ability to initiate conversations around policies on security and also develop policies that sustain security, understanding that they are coming from a genocide. Now, bringing it back to Nigeria, if we do not have voices at the parliament, conversations on national security and the importance of women in litigation often gets downplayed, even when they are in the reports. So, the little efforts that female journalists do in the field often gets amplified only on the news, but does not get to the policymakers' table. So in terms of trying to say, can we adjudicate who does more? I would say it's a collaboration of the male allyship in the media space. So it's not about who is reporting more, who's better, but the women have more ability to report human angle stories, to domesticate the stories, and to also amplify those stories, especially as it concerns body bearers like children and women in the community.
All right, thank you. Simon, do you agree with Adora?
Yes, I agree with her because, like she said, women and children are the greatest burden bearers of conflict. And when you look at this thing and you take it from the perspective of trying to show, oh, is that the man really well or the man? Actually, we don't get it there, but it's collaboration. Because in the modern times, what work is collaboration and not competitiveness. I've had the advantage of working with women journalists as the editor of Leadership Sunday as far back as 2005. And I've discovered that some of the best people you can work with are actually female journalists. And that is why when I was told to come for this event, honestly, I just had to. But let me tell you, there are so many issues with journalism in Nigeria. Just like Emmanuel said, I would have wished he was here. You know, we so climbed up to some peak of lawlessness in this country that is everywhere. Is it in the churches? Is it in the mosque, in faith system? Almost everywhere. The EFCC man is telling us something that he has said something very, very critical. He said the problem of this country is corruption. Why we cannot cope insecurity is because the monster of corruption is ripping across everywhere. So much trillions of naira have been budgeted. How are they spending this money? Somebody came up yesterday, I think the chief of army staff, he said that Boko Haram had acquired drones. Is that what your work should be? If we as a nation, if the Nigerian army cannot get sophisticated drones to fight Boko Haram, what then is the whole? So honestly, all female journalists need to do now is to amplify conflict report in a manner that sends the imperativeness on government or on the federal government to do something very fast, and it should be quick. Thank you.
Sipion, can you share examples where female journalists played a key role in uncovering or reporting critical national issues? Because you just mentioned that you've worked with a few before now.
Now, to be very frank, as an editor working with female journalists, the thing was more on people that sit down at the desk to do a lot of job. Of course, I am very sure in Nigeria, most of our female journalists are sent to pit that are not more conflict, because we still have this mentality that if the men, because working as a journalist in Nigeria is very, very tough. Very tough in the sense that they ask the lady, hey, go to Maiduguri, go and write a report. You have to take what will her family react to, what will they react to. Of course, as someone that was on the beat, I was in Maiduguri. And we, Nigerian female journalists are still having the issue of trying to avoid conflict. I mean, deeply, don't get so deep into conflict because of fear of what will happen. The guest speaker has said it all. If media owners cannot take care of the welfare of journalists, then why do you have to throw the woman out there to go and do the job? So it's quite very, very difficult. So when I'm talking about working with female journalists and finding them the best, there are people that can give you the report, give them on the place. They'll give it to you. If you want to have somebody that can really proofread and give you a very clean copy, of course, they are always there. So it is from that thing. But it's always abroad. You find female journalists, but in Nigeria we have issues with the media. Maybe it will take some time.
Thank you, Simon. Mukhtar, I heard when you introduced yourself, the only thing I heard was crisis management. And so my question to you will be tailored towards where you are coming from. In conflict zones or during crisis, what protections and support systems are in place for female journalists covering sensitive national security issues? From your own angle, from where you're coming from.
Well, we all know that the role of women journalists, especially at this modern era where technology has redefined the field of conflict and resolutions, the role of women can never be overemphasized. If you look at journalists, it's a kind of two-way relationship, let's say between the security agencies as well as the media. In as far as the media or the security agencies during the crisis situation, they mostly rely on media in the sense that they disseminate information, counter disinformation as well as fake news, as well as control the narratives or shape public perception. So also on the other side, the media also require, in order to perform these three functions, they also need security agencies, maybe to provide them with the access to good information, provide them with security cover, especially in the war conflict zone. They also need access to timely release of information. So if you look at these three functions, both by the media as well as from the security agency, so it's a kind of synergy that in as far as there is no synergy between the security as well as the media, that national objectives, that is from the security agencies, meaning they need to protect the citizens, safeguard their lives and property, and also enforce law. So also the media have the role to hold the leaders accountable to their action, maybe on behalf of the people, as clearly stated in Section 39 as well as Section 22 of the Federal Republic of Constitution. So even though you're looking at the media as well as the security agencies, they're having divergent functions. But however, if you look at it from the realm of public opinion or public communication, they really intersect. They need each other. However, there are some challenges that has been militating against this synergy between the security agencies and the media, and this has been providing the hostile ground for both the media to conduct its function. For example, some of the challenges that hampers the good synergy between media and security agencies is the issue of mistrust as well as over-secrecy. For example, security agencies used to accuse media as leaking vital or sensitive information to the public that is sometimes detriment to their function. But however, in the other case, the media also accused the security agencies of being over-secretive they don't want to release information. For example, I know we are all journalists here. There are some instances where you call a spokesperson of a particular security agency for clarification regarding a national security issue, but they may not answer you. But at that function, maybe you will be just forced to go and do your story. So, and the information you release might be what might damage the operation of the team. But however, I see that in as far as the security agencies were very proactive in releasing that information, it will help in shaping the public narrative. Apart from this, there is also this ethical dilemma. So sometimes journalists were caught between either succumbing to public interest reporting or national security concerns. But however, over lines of media on official announcement from the security agencies may end up putting them maybe helping them in transferring propaganda. So another issue is this issue of intimidation or harassment. Sometimes there are so many instances where journalists were arrested, they were prosecuted, and this is all creating a hostile environment between the two agencies.
Thank you. Senator, someone was clapping. Are we clapping from that? Senator, do you think that female journalists have equal access to classified information or security sources compared to their male counterparts?
Having covered the security piece, I've also done with female colleagues. I don't think there's any discrimination when it comes to having access to source of information. It depends on the person. It depends on either the media represent or the capacity of the journalists involved. So if there is denial of access to information, it's not done on gender basis. If there is limitation for female journalists in terms of institutional or cultural, because we've seen that this is part of efforts have also been in the vanguard of advocacy. You see that Nigerian media, by its architecture, is patriarchal in nature. What do you mean? Most of the owners of the media are men. Most of the editors, the managers are men. Most of the issues that are discussed are male-dominated. When you are seeking voices, even in conflict areas, it's mostly male voices that we go to gravitate to. And this is overall the aim of UN Security Council, UNSCR 1325, of which I've had to also train journalists as an advocacy, whereby we want to get women, including women journalists, involved, so that, because most times when you get conflict area, your instinct is to interview the male there before you even begin to consider women. Even in TV, when we are inviting people for program as analysts, as guests, most times it's male. But there's a catch to that. Sometimes we'll be encouraged, because I asked some of my participants in the training some of the limitations, and they are open that even sometimes when you want to engage and want to experience it, female guests, they decline. But there are reasons to that, because over the years, this is a segment of the population that are told not to speak, stay behind. So sometimes it has been ingrained in them. It takes you see some women that are highly educated, highly exposed, but they are very afraid to speak out. They don't have the confidence to even appear before the media. So you have to continue grooming them. We encourage them to give them, because they say that most times they've invited them, they disappoint them. We say, no, don't give up. So it's a charge to female journalists, because they say, he who wears the shoe knows where he pinches, as part of the marginalized group. So female journalists should be able to amplify the voices of women in the area of peace and security. So we want to see women not as victims, but as participants in the issue of peace and security. But if I want to do the application, most women journalists should understand. They understand the psyche in having women in the issue of there is a 3 P's and R in the Women in Peace and Security Unit, prevention, protection, and I've forgotten the other one, then relief and recovery. So women should be able to help in amplifying women voices, make sure they participation, protection, and prevention, participate in peace and conflict, follow in preventive measures, follow in the area of protection and protect them from gender-based violence. So to answer your question, there is nothing like hiding, because I've seen female security and defense reporters who have cut their teeth, who have, excel, where men also excel. I have some of them that I can even mention. So because they were encouraged. I'll give you an example. I worked in this day before I went to start my own. When my former boss, Ijomo, became the editor, she encouraged a junior colleague of mine, Chiemele, I was in Abuja and she was in Lagos. So she encouraged her, brought her up. I also assisted. When Ijomo wanted to leave, she did like what I call triple or multiple promotion for her. Today, she's the editorial and features editor, in addition to being the defense and she's doing fantastically well, performing excellently. And these are because she was able to gain that because a woman was able to identify her. But sometimes we come to media places, you find out that even those who are suppressing their fellow female journalists may even be women. So I want us to encourage ourselves. Even if you can mentor someone, you can mentor our fellow female journalists. Even for those of us who believe in women, we can do this. It's a matter of confidence, it's a matter of training. It's no issue of hiding or holding information. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, before we throw the floor open to the audience, I would like to go back to Simon. Mr. Simon, how do you think security agencies can collaborate with female journalists to ensure accurate, responsible, and timely dissemination of security-related information?
Well, thank you very much. But just to resort to what the first speaker said, sometimes it's always very difficult to make a distinction what you do to ensure that it's beyond the sex level, whether it's a male journalist, whether it's a female journalist, like the speaker said. Of course, if there are people that have this humane feeling, they tend to be greatest burden bearers, they are women. So you expect that they are supposed to be in the emotional status more than any other sex on how to report conflict. But the best, like you said, you have your contacts in the security agencies. Something happened. We don't rely on social media because social media, just like that lady said, people feel there are journalists everywhere. And as long as in Nigeria you can stream one or two sentences correctly, you go to Facebook and you write it and say, oh, he's a journalist. I saw your colleague. Your colleague just posted something. Journalists are journalists. You need to confirm your story. It's just like what this is Zamfara State. There's this story that a lady was going to be killed. Sharia, she converted from to Christianity, from Islam. Story everywhere. The social media was abused. But Eastern government said there's nothing like that. So this will tell you that the social media cannot be believed. But because we live in a society where you expect negative story from a particular area. So when that negative story breaks in your heart, not as though it's true. So the whole idea is that you have to confirm because there are merchants of falsehoods. They are all everywhere. And the media, the social media today is a platform that has no lies. Because you see people that even ought not to be allowed to speak in the public space. They go to social media and speak, and people listen to them. So you are shocked, and that is where we have what we are having now. Thank you very much.
Yes, but you tactically didn't answer my question. How will female journalists collaborate with security agencies to ensure accurate, responsible, and timely dissemination of security-related information?
isn't there any techniques that you as a man uses to get this information from the security agencies that you can share with us? That's what I mean.
You see, the truth of the matter, when you don't know anything, say you don't feel there is no truth in that. The only contact I had with security was they asked me come and be an insider and they provided us information. I said no, I am a journalist. I don't want to provide information to any security agency. So as for that, I have reporters that can do that job, and they know they've been doing it. Oshaba is there any? And I think that question I'll ask Sibija to assist me. Thank you.
Just before we go to Sibija, Tara had volunteered to respond to it. Pass the mic to Agoyod.
Okay, well done. So just like Senator has mentioned earlier, there is no any kind of discrimination in terms of information sharing between other women or male journalists. So I think in order to have a timely and accurate sharing of information between other security agencies and journalists, there is need to create an institutional friendly dialogue forum whereby the security agencies as well as the journalists will find time to sit down together while the security agencies will brief the media about their operation and their activities and accomplishment, while other journalists and others will also have an avenue to ask questions and to seek for explanation and any other ambiguity regarding the public media regarding the operation of the military. I want to commend the military, especially the CDS, the army, the chief of air service. They are doing this kind of institutional program where they engage media personnel in a file. Just like 2 days ago, I was privileged to engage in this kind of media file with the chief of air staff, their vice marshal, air marshal. So, you know, they are currently celebrating their 61st years anniversary. So, as part of this, there is this kind of media file where heads of defense editors were invited to chat with the chief of air staff. So during there, a lot of information, we discussed so many security issues, we asked so many questions and he responded. So I think providing this kind of avenue and code will ensure a timely and accurate information from security agencies and journalists. Thank you. I think I answered.
Yes, sir.
Okay. To respond to him, yes. Okay, to amplify what he said. Okay, very well. I usually like to lay my background through storytelling because I think that's the way we connect the dots. And you know, earlier I talked about the Liberian Civil War and I brought it down here. So I'm going to use another conversation. I don't know if anybody heard about the 1972 Olympics massacre in Munich in Germany, where the only report that could happen from that Olympic stadium in Germany was from ABC Sports. I'll give you a little story. Now, during that Olympics, 9 terrorists from the Palestinian militant group, and remembering that Germany was just coming from under the Nazis rule, 9 Israelis were participating in that Olympics. So when the kidnappers, they came with the, first of all, you know, rather than they gave them the first label, kidnappers. And when they got into the arena, the police got the intel, but couldn't identify them. The quickest way to identify them was when ABC Sports said, because we are the only media accredited to cover this Olympics, for the first time, 900 million viewers were watching live on ABC Sports. They were the only one who were given the ability to beam live every person in that Olympic stadium. And so, unknowing to the people, the police officers, the intel, they also had reporters scattered all over the arena, the stadium. And to their greatest surprise, the person leading that charge was a woman. However, the Terrorism Policy Act for Germany did not permit live broadcasts of terrorism or issues of terrorism. But they needed a decisive decision on the spot to make sure that they were able to identify what the people who were trying to kidnap people to where they were located. And because she was a woman as well, within the MCR, if I would call it that, where the news was being developed, there was an argument why she should be the one to make such a decision. However, when they saw the state of insecurity or what would have happened in that Olympic room, they decided that it wasn't about gender anymore. It was about national security. And so what did she do in terms of collaboration? She now wanted to make sure that there was intra-institutional participation and collaboration. So technically when we report insecurity in Nigeria, there are reporters for insecurity. There are reporters on the time of the police, military. But what she did was that she went outside the curve and went to the finance reporters to find out when the last transaction happened in the Bank of Munich, to know who transferred money, to which cartel, to which group. And so it was from the finance reporter that she got intel of the names and the faces, to be able to put their pictures on live broadcast during that Olympics. And so she has gone just beyond military or insecurity reportage to collaborate intra-administration and institutions with the finance reporter. It didn't end there. They also now decided to now connect to the person who was on the border. So there were reporters who were reporting immigration laws. They had that connection. And I would have thought that if it was a man that was giving that charge, he wouldn't have been so intuitive. He wouldn't have been that innovative. And that's the power of women in reporting. And so when that happened, they were now able to identify and saw that the terrorists were already on top of the building and they had captured 4 of the Israelis. To cut the long story short, those reporters were there for 4 consecutive days. They didn't go home. They were making sure that information coming from the airport, from the military, all of that was being live to people in Germany. Of course, the Olympics was suspended. This is a true life story. So that they would be able to actually find safety for those people remaining. Unfortunately, the Israelis were killed on their way to the airport, thinking that they had saved them and were taking them to perhaps fly them on the private jets to a safe space, to a safe airport. They were attacked inside the airport. So what am I saying? Women have the ability to be innovative. Women have the ability to be collaborative. And I think in collaboration, we need to start thinking not just within the security bits. We need to start thinking, how do we tie finance? When we are talking about naming and shaming, oh, we have billions of dollars leaving the shores, people sending in money to Boko Haram, sending in money to ISIS. How do you follow the money? There is somebody on finance. There is somebody on ICPC. There is somebody on EFCC. This is a network of information. And Intel does not get better than that. When you are able to trace that conversation, building intra-administrative collaboration, you're able to find facts and then also follow the story. So in collaboration, it's not just about the women collaborating with the men, it's also intra-institutional collaboration. Thank you very much.
Well, on this note, I will be coming to the end of this streaming. My name is Bemiga Olamikom, and the event, inaugural conference of NAWOJ Zone G, inaugural zonal conference, is gradually coming to the end.
He said that there is no discrimination in information dissemination. Right. However, you contradicted yourself when you still said that our system is highly patriarchal. You said that. Editors are men, newspaper owners are men, and oftentimes, just like politics, security wears a masculine face. So if she's not wearing pants, you're not willing to have that conversation. So the intel is restricted, not due to capacity, but due to gender. I think that we've come to a place in this country where we can call things as they are. We are really looking for real change. Sexism is a real thing. Bias is a real thing. It's happening everywhere. in our journalism, in our politics, in our day-to-day life. So sweeping it all doesn't exist. Why acknowledge as a system makes the world sounds like hypocrisy. Pardon me, I don't know a better word. Perhaps you can find one. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Let's not mix things up. Let's try to, so that we can clearly understand this issue. The question is that, is there any bias in access to information in the security sector? To the best of my knowledge, no. But I say the only challenge is from the system where the journalists are working, the media landscape, that's their employer, their organizations, whereby most times the women are not giving some enough of them to cover such bits. But from the security sector angle, maybe a female journalist seeking for information, I don't think any institution, for example, you're a female journalist, you are representing AIT, or you are representing this day, you need information from the military, from the army, from the navy, because a female journalist, information is given to another male reporter in another media is denied to you. Nobody will do that. But if you make the sexual harassment, we can bring fact to that as a different topic altogether. But having access to information, nobody has been denied information based on gender, that you're a female journalist or a male journalist. It depends on your capacity. You can see female journalists, defense reporters who have performed better than their male counterparts in the same beat.
I think you have answered
that. Yes. And I didn't contradict myself.
All right. Please, we have 2 more questions to take from the audience, and then we come back to the panelists to proper solutions on how to curb insecurity in North Central Nigeria and Nigeria at large.
Thank you so much to our panelists for this conversation. My question is specifically to Dr. Adora. She talked about the power of storytelling. How can female journalists also use the power of storytelling to amplify grassroots perspectives on insecurity? They are often overlooked by mainstream narratives. So how can we use storytelling to do that?
Okay, thank you very much. And I think the easiest answer to that is the lady moderator, Adamson, has done a lot of storytelling when it comes to insecurity. I know that we remember the man, I've forgotten his name, who macheted a young woman, her body parts and things, that was arrested by the police. She did an extremely fantastic job telling the story of what happened and where we are. But what I want to say about storytelling is following the story to the end. Usually when we start the conversation, we'll build the momentum, we excite the audience, people are eager to see what the findings are, and then the enthusiasm of following the process is heightened and it stops there. Usually we often don't follow the story to the conclusive end. And that means that we need to look at security storytelling financing. Because whether you like it or not, financing security journalism is very expensive. You're talking about insurance, you're talking about safety, you're talking about mobility, you're talking about intelligence gathering. I can tell you that anywhere you want to gather intelligence, every woman you talk to, you give her something. She's not going to give you her information for free, because she doesn't know what you're going to do with it. So oftentimes, security financing in terms of journalism is one area that I think that we need to look at. That will help to amplify more stories. That will help to see that more stories are told to a conclusive end, and will give people the hope that if we hear the story, we do not only go through the trauma, we come to a closure. Because I think that the biggest, thing that bedevils, security journalism is the fact that you open up a vista of trauma. People are re-traumatized every time they encounter a story. Or how you can help the populace to find healing and also find out what happens at the end is to find closure with that story. And then I would also say that our security policy, I think our Terrorism Act of 2022 needs to be reviewed. Because when you look at the Terrorism Act 2022, it talks about access to information, but it still talks within that policy that institutions of security and the gatekeepers of such information, they can only give a reporter so much that they want to hear. So you can only act on what you have allowed to act as information. So a lot of undercover reporting is often seen as witch hunting. It's often seen as also politicized, and so journalists are not emboldened to do a lot of investigative journalism stories. So I think, yes, I think that is where we need to review the policy and also be able to look at security financing. Thank you.
Okay, let me salute the panel for a well-detailed discussion. I wanted to note that I felt that it should have been very, very realistic if we had one of the panelists to be a female who is currently reporting security issues. Maybe we can have these life experiences. Like I said before, I reported security issues, and I went to a press briefing one day, in just a few minutes, and we got a statement where the security, I think it was the army, also indicted themselves by this press statement that they sent to me. So they were actually calling us to tell us how the security has been working so hard in ensuring that they carry out their social responsibilities by providing antiretroviral drugs for HIV patients. And so, when the security gave out this statement, they were telling us that there were 11,000 people who were infected with HIV. So I asked the question, are these people security operatives, or they are the community where you gave this antiretroviral drugs? But unfortunately, I didn't get a response to that question I asked. So I went ahead and did a little, investigation. I asked questions if people could actually access the healthcare facility within the security environment, and most of them said they couldn't because it was situated in the army barracks, and so people cannot just walk in there freely to just access those facilities. So the story made headline. When the story came out the next day, my paper reported that 11,000 soldiers were HIV infected. And to my surprise, they called me to their office. When I went to their office, I was a bit scared because I thought maybe I've done something wrong. But when I came, I got a welcome, and people started petting me, and they were now trying to, pacify me that why should I go out with such information. They didn't know that somebody was going to look at that story from that angle. Now, why they did not respond to me was because they felt, I couldn't handle what we call with that story. But when my editor called me, I discussed with him and recorded what they were saying, and I had the speech with me. So I had all the evidence, and I was so confident in what I was going to write. So that made the headline. Later on, the army operative said that I should do a rejoinder to say that the story was not correct. I did that report. They said I should do a rejoinder. So I said I cannot do a rejoinder, and I don't have that authority to say going to do a rejoinder. So I was going to discuss with my editor who I put that story. So when that story was, when I informed my editor that this is the development, my editor said okay, that they were going to take up the issue, and they felt that I could not handle that issue, and they pushed me out of security base, and they handled that issue with the army operatives, and I didn't know how that issue ended. Whether the rejoinder was written, I don't know how they settled their issues, but these stories were there. I did the report and it was there. And from that day on, somebody else took up that bit. But I want to share that I didn't relent. I started covering security issues from the human angle interest stories. I was reporting women and I was making the headlines. And this has got me recognition. I was being invited to Lebanon where I had to speak to security operatives. So I just want to okay, this happens. Sometimes the males on the beach will not understand the kind of discriminations that we face on the beach because it is not your reality. But we, the women, we know the issues, we know the challenges, we know the discriminations that we face, and nobody should cover that up for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and please don't retire me so quickly. I'm still, you say no one that is covering security that is on the panel. This is where I cut my teeth. So, someone is here representing us. Yes, and I believe the experience you shared, from what I'm saying, and there have been other male journalists that also suffered such. It's not because you're female, but because this is what the security want or don't want. They can descend on you whether you're male or female, so that we don't get these things mixed up. That's what I'm saying. And when you're talking about, you mentioned Lebanon, you even said I'm the one that nominated you. So you just say your story. Yeah. So complete your story. Now, there have been male reporters. I remember there was from the Sun. There was a time there was this guy who was he did something, and from the security angle, they wrote that they don't want this kind of person. I too have suffered, I've faced that backlash myself. There are some reports I'll do. They wake me up in the morning. There was a time one defense spokesperson, I won't mention his name, say, Senator, you're against us, you are doing this. So, but I have to stand my ground. So it's not whether you are a male or female. This kind of issues comes up. They may even write to your agency that they don't want this person. So it's you understanding your terrain. Defense bit is very, very sensitive bit. So if you understand how to navigate it, you can be able to excel. I've seen female who excel more than male. Yeah, I'll give you two examples. One female, one male. This particular man I mentioned about, he used to work for the Sun. Later, he was relieved. And he left and started working for another medium that is not well known. And they sent him to come to cover defense bits. So over time, he realized that no one calls him for assignment. And he'll be calling me, Senator, why is no one calling me? Why is this and this? I said, do you even understand yourself? There's a medium you will cover. That medium is a brand, it's well known. Once they mention, we need this medium, the next thing they will ask, who is covering it? If you are the one, they will call you. Whether you are sleeping, whether you are making effort, they will involve you. But if you are covering a not well known medium, you have to up your ante. There was this lady, Joy Baba Yusuf. She was covering no well known medium. But they always call her because she was doubling her efforts. She's always on their faces. She will do her report. She will bring it and present it to them. But they were calling her. I compare him to her and say, see, they are calling her because she understands she has to double her effort, make her presence known. So because the medium is not known, you have to sell your medium. So it has nothing to do with male or female. Female suffer discrimination, but from the institution, from the media houses where they cover. All right. But whether the issue of accessing information from gender perspective, from my own understanding, I don't think there's nothing like that. Or from my own understanding, thank you.
All right. And then just to add to what Senator has said, I covered crime and security for the most part of my career, almost 50 years or a little more than 50 years. I can't, I don't know how it made you felt, but I'm sorry you felt that way. What happened to you is a simple newsroom politics. Nothing more, nothing less. Simple newsroom politics. At this point, I want to thank the organizers for actually making out time to source out he or she male to be in this conference because their contributions honestly have been enlightening and informative to me. But before we round up this section of the program, we want them to give us in 30 seconds each the way forward. What are the solutions to the myriad of the Nigerian nation insecurity from any part of the zones, because we cannot limit it to the Northwest zone. Sorry, not saying.
Okay, I'll just say mine in a few words, and I'll say it in quote. Journalism can never be silent. Okay, that is the greatest virtue. That is its greatest fault. And I say that because for us to not be silent, we must invest in journalism. And for us to invest in journalism, we must invest in security reporting. Finance is important. We cannot do that. People will not risk their lives anymore to cover stories when there are no insurances, when the remuneration is below the belt. We need to look at that anymore. And that is when NAWOJ and NAWOJ should come to the power. Secondly, we need to review policies that do not have protective rights for journalists in covering terrorism. And for me, I think that is essential because if you want to set somebody, for instance, cover some business purpose, what are the parameters? What is the modus of the parameter? And it is not only the men that can cover that. So we must look at policy, we must look at finance, security financing, and we must look at training of those people who are domiciled in that belt to do the job.
Thank you. A round of applause for Adora. I need to receive the job.
Okay, I want to say that in issue of national security, media is very key. It's constitutionally recognized as a very important institution, both in governance and security. So advocacy for security sector reform is very, very important. We should encourage more training, and for the female journalists, we should begin to believe in ourselves and encourage each other, mentor ourselves in this, and to go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we put our hands together for Smith?
Thank you so much. As we all know that insecurity has multifactorial causes, so as well the kind of solution also need to be multifaceted. As well know that now insecurity or the battle is no longer fighting. We are no longer fighting a traditional war. It is becoming a modern war. So it is this popular information media, we call it information warfare. A lot of this insurgent leverage on social media to radicalize and lead people to believe their ideology. So also insecurity also need to also emanate from the issue of dissemination of fake news. So this is where journalists we can do a lot of more. We should leverage on technology as well as social media to counteract fake news or injurious information that can be able to cause public disorder. So I would advise some kind of media houses to institutionalize a fact-checking desk across every media house to counteract this misinformation. We have seen how NSAS protest, how misinformation and disinformation nearly turned Nigeria into a battleground. So I think if we can be able to counteract misinformation, disinformation, I think we'll be halfway in solving the security challenges we the media can develop.
Thank you, Mukhtar.
Well, to me, the media is a reflection of society. We run a nation that is administered upside down. So you don't expect the media to go and report something. That's not. Now, corruption is at the base of everything. And we have a nation that has enthroned materialism as the basic essence of living. Once our leaders get there, all what they want is to acquire money. And that is why insecurity cannot end, because those people that are mandated with the responsibility of managing our security affairs are corrupt. The EFCC man said that. Even I want to tell you, I wish we were here. Even the EFCC chairman said EFCC is suffering from corruption. So corruption has become a monster. So except we may stay here and spend 10 years talking about these corrupting soldiers. Once we don't bring a system that is working, we are simply wasting our time. All these solutions you provide here and there will not work, because somebody somewhere at the end of the road is
It's packing everything. We were just on AIT, and I mean, this morning with her, and I was saying it. I said, whether we like it or not, we must deal with the monster of corruption. If we like, go and speak all the grammar. But the sad thing is, Nigerians for now are in love with corruption. Nigerians are in love with corruption, and for you to think that the media will go ahead and do certain things that is contrary, somebody just said newspaper something, most criminal is what he was trying to take. But the whole idea is that we have a nation that worship materialism. Is it in our faith centers? Everywhere. Just get the money. Once you get the money, your sins are forgiven you. Thank you very much.
So we thank the panelists for their realistic solutions. On my part, I want to say that security is everybody's business. What Nigerians don't do oftentimes is that they do not take their personal security seriously. Who is your neighbor? Do you know your neighbor? You don't. You think you are minding your business. No, you are risking your life. Thank you very much. My name is Agatha Solomon.
Well, on this note, we'll be bringing the streaming to an end. My name is Olamiko. Till I see you again from another episode. Bye for now.